was the last reunion we had, so you can have a pencil. I don't know what the little thing says. I think there was a little verse or something.
Laden with food and bearing good
Any others?
cheer, the relatives gather.
Well, you could take it out and read it if you want to. You can have
The
that
relatives gather on this one day each year, greeting each other with words, amazed at the years that are passing since long ago days.
We had a real good reunion a couple of times. I mean, we had a lot of
It's got the
people
name. Well, thank you.
represented. You know, it was kind of fun because we'd meet in the city hall and rake, and,
Yeah.
and then this past year, Dad's sister Ida only had one boy and one girl. And they're both deceased, but the girl that lived out in Maryland
Mhm.
had like 5 children. And they used to come every year to Grandma's. And then when Kathy went out to visit a girlfriend, then that particular day they were going to go touring or something, and then I said to Kathy, you have to go see Judy and them. They would be real disappointed if some relative came out there and didn't stop. So Kathy did, and here, these girls were a real good friend of Kathy's girlfriend from Iowa who'd gone back out there. And her husband took Kathy all over, touring all around Washington and stuff, which was fun for her,
Oh, yeah.
Well, they came this summer now, and so it was real fun to see them. But this was going to be their last trip. They all came with their kids and everything, and they had a thing for their mother who was 90. But it was kind of fun to see them, because my aunt Ida thought that no one should have more than 2 children. I remember when she had 3 children, I think 3 girls, and she waited a while, then she had at least 2, maybe 3 more. And when my Aunt Ida saw Mom, she said, I suppose you heard that Judith had another baby. Just like it was a crime. and then she just thought it was just terrible that when Arlene, can't remember which child it was, she said to my mother, I think that Arlene should have her cords tied. She was real prim and proper, and it was really funny because I found Jean's dad's report card, and guess who his teacher was? Ida Baldo. Because Ida and Emma both were country school teachers,
Yeah.
and so that was kind of comical. And like his sister always says, she said, "Oh, my dad would have loved it to know that Jean had married a Valdo, because he used to say, oh, those Valdos, those are smart people." I said, how did he know? I said, he didn't really know any of us. He only knew my aunt. No, I guess they knew some. But anyhow, it was comical. It was just really funny. But Ida was very prim and proper. When we came there as kids, we'd all sit on the davenport just like little angels. We'd never say a word or make any noise. And both of those kids, before they went to school, could only speak Norwegian, Judy and Orvis. So then they had to learn English so they could start school, because they spoke Norwegian most of the time, And that was always really funny when we lived on the same place, Isaac and Annie and their kids, and Dad and Mom and us. The 2 men would talk Norwegian and the 2 women talked German. And of course, we couldn't understand any of it. They never taught us any of it.
And that's such a shame.
But we picked up a lot from the Mexicans because we played with them all the time, and they couldn't speak English. Yeah. So while I was teaching in Rake, we had a Spanish program over TV. The instructor was at Mason City, and then every day at that certain time, my class would all watch TV, and we'd go down to the TV room, and then we had lessons to do and workbooks, and I happened to have a really good 6th grade that year. A lot of girls that were real, just loved learning the Spanish. So they had learned to sing some songs in Spanish and everything, so he invited my class to Mason City to sing over KGLO, because they were one group that was really interested, But so I sang a song to him one day. I said, you know, we used to play this game all the time, I said, but the Mexican kids couldn't talk Spanish, English, and we couldn't talk Spanish, so we just sang it in Spanish with them. And he just laughed. He said, when he first heard me sing it, he said, "Were you in Mexico?" And I said, "No." I said, "We never did know what it meant. We just played the game and sang it with them." But we played with them all the time, and their mother was a real good cook, and we loved their food. So if we got a peanut butter sandwich, we'd go trade it for a tortilla and beans from the Mexican kids.
Now, again, they were living across
Yeah,
the road.
in the original house that Grandpa
Right,
and them had
right.
built years
Yeah.
before. That, of course, was gone.
So now I asked Betty the origin of that farmstead.
Hmm. I think that came from the Haugies.
Right, that's what she thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I found something that
Yeah,
probably
because he owned
confirms
a
that.
lot of land.
So but Oldie's father, Sievert,
Hmm.
so he did not have a farm, or
Not that I know of.
or he worked on
I don't-
somebody or
I-
rented somebody's
see,
or something.
I
But
never
there
knew.
wasn't an original farm.
No,
No.
no, this was, it was built for Grandpa and them to live on, I think, originally, you know. But, I'm sure it was built by the Grandpa Haugie, or the
Okay, right,
Haugie side.
right. The
Yeah.
house was built by them
Yeah.
too,
Oh,
not
yeah.
just the land was
No,
theirs.
no, I think that was all done by them.
Because Betty thought that, and
Yeah.
actually, I think
Yeah.
I think you'll like this. This is map of the Rome Township
Mm-hmm, that's where we live.
from, I don't know if there's a date on this, but it was when you were there.
Okay.
And it's hard for you to see that, so I made it an enlargement
Mm-hmm.
of the
Yeah, I see
area.
it right here.
Right here, nope,
Mm-hmm.
right here. So this is where you live, this
Yeah.
Ole
Yeah.
S. Baldall,
Mm-hmm.
and
Then across.
then it says Chris Baldall.
Yeah, see, and that would be across the road from
Right.
us, and that's where Selmery and them eventually moved their house from Bryson over there.
Okay, and I thought someplace. Well, and it looks, and so Ole had this little lot here too, which must have been, since this was probably all Haugie land,
Mm-hmm.
so he had this part across the street, and it looks like he had another 40 acres.
And that
Up
was,
here.
yeah, and that's what Aunt Cora got. See,
Okay.
Selmer's had this, and Aunt Cora had this, and Dad and Isaac had this.
Okay.
And then they,
So who's Chris Baldall? Well, I know.
Christopher.
Christopher. That's his Ole's brother.
yeah,
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 that's who it is.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of the one.
So this was all, and I think maybe it's,
See, you saw where he owned a lot of land.
right.
Most of anybody in Faribault County.
But this will be interesting if you get a magnifying glass. Well,
Mhm.
even this, you can to look, because these are probably all the neighbors that you had
Mm-hmm.
back then.
And see, it's kind of funny because I think the Hestertunes are related. I think they're in the family somehow. I know.
Okay.
And but it's funny because the Hestertunes related, but his wife was related to the Growies. So,
Really?
so it was really crazy. Yeah, I think I would know.
Yeah, you probably know all these names.
Yep.
Because must have been, like I said, I can't remember what the date was, but it was before 1900.
Oh, it was before 1900.
Right, so this
Oh.
was when, like I said, this was when Ole had the land, not your dad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This was before they transferred it over. Anyway, I thought you'd get a kick out of
Yeah.
seeing all the names.
Yeah, the Colisteds and the Erics and Tabrekis and Hestertunes.
So this shows that the school was right there, just just a little bit down from your property?
Yeah,
Okay,
about, well, almost a mile, because we were not far from the corner, only about a fourth of a mile, and it was on the other end of the mile.
and it was on the Mundale's property,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's how
yeah.
the name
Mhm.
was the Mundale School. So
Yeah.
did they donate the school, or was it just because it was there?
Well, and I think that family must have donated the Mundels.
All right.
And the Mundels are related because two of Grandma's sisters married the Mundels.
Okay.
One married Peter Mundell and one married Hans Mundell. When I was young, I never did get this connection. We'd go see Aunt Carrie, and I'd think, well, how come? I mean, I couldn't figure out what we thought of her as Aunt Carrie. Well, she really was. She was Dad's aunt, you know.
Okay.
And she lived with her daughter. And then the Jelmerviks too, because Mrs. Hans Jelmervik was also a Mundell. So it really got
Yeah, it got
complicated.
different.
Like the Mundell that was, you know, vice president.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not related to him, but he's related to the same ones we are, of course,
Yeah.
because that was another brother.
Okay. Anyway, I thought you'd get a kick out of
Yeah,
looking at that stuff.
yes,
So-
that's really neat to see. And see, some of those places are still in those names, the Legrades.
Oh, I'm sure. You know, if the
Mhm.
family stayed around and
Yeah,
they don't let go of land,
no,
they hold on to that.
and see, and here's Stuffed Dolls. Here's Guards.
And this was the ditch or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
That we used to
What,
go
what, did,
walking
what did you
down.
call it?
Dredge.
The dredge,
Go
yes.
down the dredge. See, this was Hans Mundell. And see, and it, Clement Brumfer, that, I know where that corner is, that was just down from our school. And that's Carol Mundell. Yeah. And then Jean Mundell, there's two Mundells there.
Hmm.
And Fortune, John, Jake Satries. Satries had a lot of money, and several of the boys never married, so it ended up their great-grandchildren and really got land, you know, because there were a lot of adults.
So when you guys were living there,
Yeah.
and you said Selmer had this land,
Mm-hmm.
was he farming it at the same time that you guys were?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they had a house there?
Yeah, they moved their house from Bryceland.
All right.
They lived on a farm by Bryceland, and they moved it up to that farm.
Okay,
And I think that was after Grandpa died.
okay.
And that's his.
So you guys really had that whole area
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
under
then,
control.
and then Dad and them farmed some.
Did they work together with Selmer then?
No. Mm-mm.
They didn't. It was
Mm-mm.
totally
No,
separate.
that was totally separate. And that's where Selmer lived when he was killed. Was on this place.
So remind me how he got killed.
Well, he'd been up to Minneapolis. He always took the bus. And he had purchased some land south of Keister here, quite a ways, for his son LaVonne. And then he was coming back from up at the cities where Connor lived. And then he was one of these very frugal people. So he said to the bus driver, well, you can let me out at this corner. I can walk. Well, it wasn't many miles. I mean, 4 or 5 miles.
Hmm.
Well, he got off of the bus, and he was coming around the back side of it, and a guy was coming from Elmore from the south. And when Selmer saw him, he jumped back, and then the guy was going to avoid him, so he swerved, and just as he jumped back, and he was killed.
Hmm.
And we were in Elmore because Gerald, my brother, was playing basketball. And all of a sudden,
that's right, yeah.
Someone
Yeah.
came in
And
and
you said-
took us all out, and we didn't know who it was. I mean, of course, we all thought it was our dad or something.
Right.
You know, we couldn't figure out what had happened. And then he had been killed.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was tragic. But he was just so conservative. He saved every nail and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And that type of thing. And it was crazy too, because you see, the barn and the well and stuff were on that side of the road. Only thing on our
For
side
your,
was,
for your property,
Yeah.
for your house.
yeah, so after they moved on that side, we still had to cross the road to go and get water and stuff over there. It was really different. I never thought of it at that time, but see, the barn and everything was over there. And I
Mhm.
think Dad and them were, as far as I know, I wonder if they weren't still milking cows. I'm not sure. No, maybe not. And I don't think some of them had any cows. And eventually,
Well, Betty thought that they had some animals.
they might have still had
So,
some.
and I asked her about using horses.
Yeah, and they did.
And they did
Yeah,
use
yeah,
horses,
yeah.
right?
I can remember when they got their first tractor, we were so excited.
Well, wasn't, and that was the video,
Yeah.
that John Deere, that
Oh,
was
yeah,
his first
yeah,
tractor,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we were just thrilled to death, because otherwise, they were hitching up horses and then, like when they'd have thrashing, it'd be all these teams and wagons, and we'd want to ride in that little feed box, We'd ride out with one guy, and then when another one was bringing a load, we'd ride, and there was one that had a hired man, and he just was a wild young kid, and he drove just terrible. And Dad would be preaching to us, don't ride with that Ernie Trotman, he's crazy. But anyhow, and then, see, we lived here,
Yes.
but Dad and them would go, they farmed some land, I think that some of this Mundell land also,
Okay.
because I know they did, because they'd be out
Right,
in the
well,
field there.
that, they show 80 acres where your
Yeah.
house was, and
Yeah.
if there's another 40 acres up here, that's only
Yeah.
120
Yeah,
acres.
see, that was Cora's,
For two
Yeah.
two
And they-
families, that's
yeah.
pretty tough.
but they did rent land from, I think it
From the
was from the
Mundell.
Hans Mundells.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was, because I remember when they'd go out to the field there, Oh, isn't that funny, all of these names. And like, these people are sort of related to us somehow too, the Legballs. See, I'm trying to work with, Mrs. Clifford Saban too, because you see, don't ask me how we're related to them, but we are through the Mundells. And so she brings out all this stuff on the hobbies and all that. We're looking at all of it. By the time I get home, I don't know who I'm talking about, but she's working on that. And of course, now she's way up in her 90s, but she's got a lot of things on that side.
Yeah.
But oh man, there were a lot of Saptries. And all of those names are real familiar, boy, I'll tell you. I'm trying to think of how we went from our place to Grandpa's though. Okay,
To Grandpa.
to Grandpa Berg's.
Berg's.
Because you see, they live south. We would go from the schoolhouse and we would go,
So this when they lived in Buffalo Center,
no, when they lived out on a farm.
or by Ray.
By Ray.
Okay.
It would be 2.5 miles that we'd walk, because two of us would get to go walk to Grandma and Grandpa's on Friday, and we'd have 2 miles, because one was kind of a dead road with a dredge going through it,
Mhm.
and then they lived there until that long after Grandma died, and Grandma died in '48. Then they moved to Wells.
Okay.
So,
I'm pretty sure there's some pictures, some video of Grandpa Berg
oh, are there
on that
on that?
tape,
Oh, okay,
and there's some scenes around a farm.
okay.
I'm guessing it was probably his
probably that
farm. Do you
farm.
think?
Yeah, I bet it was. Well, it wasn't. They
I
didn't.
mean, you'll
own
be
the
able to
farm,
tell.
but
You'll be
they-
able
yeah.
to tell.
I'm trying to think of how we would have. So the
2.5 miles. That's not.
this-
That's not very far.
The school
actually.
was this way.
The
Did
school,
we
the
say-
school's right in here someplace. It says
Yeah,
school there,
okay. Yeah, and so
where the
then
2 is.
yeah, and then we would go south from that school straight down, because the school was on a corner, and we'd go south 2.5 miles.
Well, the school must have been here then.
Yeah,
I'll bet you,
yeah, because
because this is a
Trying to-
mile.
Yeah, I remember the Grunbergs. Oh, and I
And if,
remember
this is where the
the,
dredge is, so
Yep.
if you went over,
and that name is not, but I knew the Lake Red place, and they were a little, half a mile further south from the Lake Red place, but I can't find it. And see, Jean lived down on a farm by that grandpa and grandma.
well, here's another
That's a Lake Red too.
Liquid too.
Hmm. But I don't see the name of the guy that grandpa and them,
Do you know what the
rented
name
from.
was?
And it wasn't Tenonga, I know where that is. And that was Guard,
Weiss, Heisel,
and Anderson,
Schultz,
Lewis,
Thompson,
Tufto.
Toftel, yeah.
Yeah, Tufto was the name of the school. Oh, here's Hesseldahl. That name doesn't sound familiar.
Newt Larson.
Mm-mm. And it wasn't Wise. That isn't the name of the guy that owned it. No, because I remember Lowry's, because there was Tufto School, and this was Lowry's and Adetsky's and Hesseldahl's. Grandpa and them lived close to Frank Hesseldahl's. Hmm. Maybe the land they rented at that time. 'Cause this is Frank Hesseldahl, and they lived right across the field from him. So maybe this guy owned the land at that time. Doesn't sound familiar to me at all, though. Oh, I'm trying to think of that name. Oh. It doesn't.
Well, it probably wasn't as far south as the Elmore Highway there.
No, but see, Frank Hesseldahl was right across from them, because we used to walk over there all the time. Hmm. And I don't remember any guards living there at that time, so that's. Hmm. See, this would be where Vernon lived then, Easton Jacobson. But that, yeah, that has to be. Gee, that's crazy. Some of these names are so familiar, but this,
Hmm.
not the way I knew the Underdogs. Rosick's lived right next to us. Hmm.
Lots of guards.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're related to Evelyn and them or not.
Hmm.
Doesn't sound, they lived out in that area somewhere, but not in that direction.
Hmm.
It's funny though, most of the names are like the Tenongas. Jean is related to the Tenongas. And that place is still out there. This would have to have been, because the Tufto place was on the corner, and your schoolhouse was, I think, right here. It was Frank Hesseldahl and Lars Testdahl and Langwright. So there must have been somebody else that owned that land at one time.
Hmm. Yeah, like I said, I think this was probably,
Hmm.
this probably predated
Mm-hmm.
their moving there, because this was with Ole,
Mm. Yeah,
this was,
yeah. So that would have been a long
Long
time
time
before
ago,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
just shows how long those families have been
Mm.
there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we were District 124.
Yeah.
I remember that. Hmm. Hmm. And where did this come out of, a old plat book?
Yep. Well, it was this page.
Mm-hmm. That's really kind of neat.
Yeah, it is.
It's funny how you sure remember all those names, boy.
So we've established that the Haugies owned that land,
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it was always,
and
because it
they
wasn't.
built the new house that you lived in, or was that,
I don't know
you
who
don't-
built that house,
okay?
but I wonder if it wasn't that.
But the house and the barn were across the street from
Yeah.
the house, and
Yeah.
so that was the original.